Alright, so we're out and about on the bike. Obviously, I already took the bike out, took the GoPro out. I think the battery has gone bad or something. So I didn't record my first impressions of being on the bike with the new fuel pump. Alright, so like I said, I already took it out for a ride. Tried it out. The bike feels fantastic. Man, I just miss having all that performance, because for the longest I've been riding it for the last 3 weeks, because I've been waiting on that part from, of course, Harley Davidson, the fuel pressure regulator. So I was waiting on that. Unfortunately, I couldn't fix that fuel pressure regulator, and now that I have the old 2020 pump, the bike is performing amazing. So I'm happy to be able to use the full potential of the stage 2 that I have in this bike, the 475. So it's idling just fine. Of course, you guys can, you know, hear it and everything. I wasn't I mean, there wasn't any issues, except for when I installed the fuel line back onto the pump, it was leaking. So I could have sworn I heard it click, the coupling and the fuel line from the fuel rail on the injectors. It was leaking from there, and luckily, you know, even though it's dark, I was still checking it. So the way you go about putting the fuel line back or connecting it, you would just have to you know, cycle the fuel pump at least twice. That's what I recommend. Sorry if you guys can't see anything, it's already dark. Like I said, I already took it out for a ride, and you know, this is just, you know, stuff that's fresh on my head. So when you go to turn on the bike, all right, you know how you turn on your bike and it's not, you know, it's not completely turned on, but it's accessory on. When you have it on accessory on, you'll hear the fuel pump. It's gonna make a funny sound, all right? So you gotta shut it off and then turn it back on, and then you'll hear the fuel pump, you know, get all those, or grab the fuel. I think the first go around, it's empty because you just put it in. The second go around, that's when you start hearing the fuel pump sound normal. So that's what I suggest for you to do. Once I cycle the pump, you know what, you guys get what I'm saying? When I put it on the on position on the switch, not turning the bike on, but just putting it on the on position, you hear the pump, of course, make the sound that we all know, okay? So once, of course, it did it the second time, that's when I saw fuel coming out of the left side of the bike. So luckily, like I said, luckily I checked it. I'm almost certain I heard the coupling and the fuel line connect completely. So I went ahead, removed the seat, I shifted the fuel tank up, and then I reattached the fuel line with the pump, and now it's sealed, so no issues as far as leaking. So just, you know, double check your connections when it comes to the fuel line, because like I said, I'm almost certain I heard it click, and it was leaking fuel. So if I hadn't checked that, of course, I would have been riding it, and then of course pumping fuel all over the side of the street, and who knows, maybe I would have had some performance issues or something. So alright, so there it is. Let's slow down a little bit. I saw 90% on the throttle positioning down here. I don't know if you guys, you know, looked at it or not, of course. So that is already a significant improvement over the old eBay used fuel pump that you know, like I said, I got a good deal on it. Unfortunately, it was just a dud, and maybe, you know, maybe somebody in the comments can tell me how to pull that coupling O-ring connector. I really don't know how to pull that thing out, you know, and I gave up after, I say, 40 minutes. As far as connecting the fuel pump and putting everything back together, you guys saw how easy it was, or easy, not really easy, all right? You guys gonna have trouble dealing with it, but because it was my second or third time doing it, well, on the Softail 8, on the Milwaukee 8 Softail. It was my third or fourth time doing it, so that's why it was a little bit easier for me to do it. Hopefully you guys, you know, took notes and you guys were able to go ahead and pull that out. So another another plus from having the 2020 fuel pump in here instead of that new one, which is supposedly a 2022 Lowrider ST. Maybe, you know, maybe there's something with that too as well. I really doubt it. I'm pretty sure the fuel pumps are identical, but maybe I'm wrong. Supposedly, like I said, the eBay seller said, or in the listing, it was a 2022 2023 fuel pump from a Lowrider ST. It should work with this. So yeah, I'm not too sure. Anyways, bike's feeling amazing. It's great now that I have the confidence that the bike is running properly and not without any issues. All right, you guys can see throttle positioning above 50%, and the bike is still pumping fuel and it's still performing. All right, before I would get an aggressive engine braking before. So now that we know that the fuel pump is working properly, we know the bike is working properly, now we could go ahead and proceed to swap out the intake and swap out the injectors, because that's the next part of the build, is doing the intake. We're going to upgrade it from a 55 SNS to a 64 from Harley Davidson, because it's a 50 state compliant intake. And we're also doing the 5.5 injectors from Harley Davidson, because once again it's OEM compliant. And not only because it's OEM compliant, it's also what's it called, OEM, no, California compliant. Sorry guys. So it's California compliant, not OEM compliant, California compliant. The intake, California compliant. The reason why I went with the 5.5 was because of the price. All right, it's half the price. You get the pair for $160 or $150. If you buy the aftermarket, which is fueling, you're looking at 300 bucks. So half the price. And I mean, on top of that, I really don't have anything more than just a stage 2. So I don't know. I mean, that's still, you know, something that you could probably weigh your options. Do you need bigger injectors for stage 2? I believe you don't. All right, but since I'm already going to be there, I might as well just swap them out. I believe they have better, how do you say it, optimization of the fuel. I believe they have a little bit more ports on the injectors. I'm not entirely sure about that with the 5.5s. I know the fueling injectors, they claim to have better optimization of the fuel when it comes with their injector. So I'm hoping that the Screaming Eagle, you know, has the same. Man, it wants to take off now. It's amazing. Wow, just riding the bike. I mean, it's fun riding the bike. All right, it's fun just riding it. All right, like I said, for the last 3 weeks while I was waiting for the parts, I've been riding the bike. But man, just having that extra torque and that extra kick at that 3,200 RPM, that's where the 475 likes to come alive. That's a sweet spot for the 475. So it's just nice having that torque and that performance back after so long, because not only did I rode the bike in limp mode, technically in limp mode for the last 3 weeks, the bike has also been under the knife with the, you know, the paint job that you guys see. You guys could kind of see, I guess. So it's been a minute. Oh yes, I also did another thing. I drained all the I know the fuel that I had in this thing. I know the fuel was fine. All right. I have, like I said, I've been riding it for the last 3 weeks. I've done, I say about 4 different fill-ups between putting the bike back together, and then, you know, thinking about doing things to it, of course, and then of course riding it in limp in limp mode, not giving it full throttle and not being able to, you know, just ride it to its full potential. Like I said, I've used fresh fuel, so I mean that could be one of the things. But like, getting back on topic, of course, with this one, I went ahead and I used fresh fuel again. So I took out the fuel that was in my bike. Like I said, I know it's clean. I've just refilled it, but I went ahead and removed all the fuel out of this because I had to change the fuel pump anyways. And I put that onto my car, and then I put fresh fuel in this. And I don't think the fuel was an issue, but if you're out there and you're also doing this, fuel does go bad. So I would say if your bike's been, you know, sitting for at least 2 months, 60 days minimum, 60 days, I would say, you know, replace the fuel just in case. That way you don't get the injectors all dirty with that bad fuel and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. The bike's 100%. So we're gonna go ahead and proceed with the install. I'm gonna have to you know, once again remove the fuel tank so I could get to the intake and the injectors, pull that stuff out. And then, you know, I thought about taking it back to the tuner, but I think I'm gonna go with the Fuel Moto route. I'm gonna contact Fuel Moto, and we're gonna see if we could get a can tune instead, and then just ride that. I think I'm just gonna ride with that, mainly because there we go, man. This thing's back 100%. So like I said, I'm gonna settle with the can tune, man. The $600 is just way too much for me right now, especially with the amount of money I just finished spending on the bike. I'm gonna settle with the Fuel Moto. It's gonna be about $100. Yes, there is a little bit of, you know, some cons. You're missing out on potentially 10% of performance. All right, I said it. You're missing out about 5 horsepower, 5 foot-pounds of torque, to 10 horsepower and 10 foot-pounds of torque. That's how much you're leaving on the table with a can tune. I've said this in plenty of videos. Now, like I said, this thing's pushing out 114 right now. We could potentially, probably, you know, with the new intake and the injectors, we could be somewhere around that range. Like I said, we might be leaving a little bit of performance on the table. So maybe with the intake and the injectors, we could probably see somewhere around 120 horsepower, probably 130 foot-pounds of torque, 135 foot-pounds of torque. I don't know. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry that it's dark. I just wanted to give you guys my first impressions. Life's a risk. Get out there and ride. Later.